Close at the back?
Nah, I said left.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, good morning, everyone. Yes, the mic is on. Excellent. My name's James Smith, founder of the Crafty Pint and a few other things over the last decade or so in the beer industry. Very excited to be here for BrewCon, the first one in a few years, and to be hosting this room over the next 2 days. I'd like to thank our sponsors for the room today, Premier Stainless. I went to speak to Harry on their stall, sort of straight down the middle over there. He's the only one here today, so he can't be in here to say anything. So, thanks to Premier Stainless for helping the conference go ahead as it is. So this session, up until recently, was surprise. And the surprise is...
Still in the program as surprise.
Still in the program as surprise. And the surprise is, I have one of my colleagues here with me. So last month we published an article looking at, I guess, is it Gen Z or Gen Z? What do you prefer?
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
100%.
Gen Z. I guess, how can the industry be talking better to, a new generation, focusing on some of the people doing pretty cool stuff in the industry. And within 24 hours, I spoke to my graphic designer, and she was like, I've been sent the article 3 times by different clients already. I think Kate, who's running the conference, said it's just been... So they got in touch with Will and said, would you come and do a sort of similar sort of presentation here? And if you were in Bernard's keynote speech, you'll hear him. It was like he was the hype man for your session, Will. So anyway, I will now shut up and hand over to Will, who will introduce his guests, and I will take this roving mic, and if later on you've got any questions, I'll come and see you. So over to you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. Yeah, I'm Will. I think part of the reason that article was pretty popular is because, and the reason I wrote it is because there's a lot of nervous energy in the industry about Gen Z. The industry's been built kind of on Gen X and millennials, and they're still large consumer bases, but we read all these reports about Gen Z's not drinking any alcohol. If they are drinking, they're drinking seltzer, they're not drinking craft beer, and they kind of need to be spoken to in a different way, and I thought it was a good opportunity here and with that article to break it down. So sitting next to me is Isla, who's the marketing manager, content creator, and resident hype queen of Range Brewing. She manages to fit that around being a full-time spin class influencer.
It's very recent.
And next to... By the way, there's probably going to be some language in this you might not understand.
Oh, you get to me. There's going to be some language.
Just avoid that. But... and then... On the other side is Jessie, who's a freelance graphic designer and marketer. She slays on the gram and on TikTok. While at Burnley Brewing a number of years ago, she implemented what I think was showed the first brewery in Australia to use TikTok well. Other people were probably on it beforehand, using it not so well. Something I'd like you all to keep in mind in this presentation is we're going to talk about marketing to consumers, but I think what Burnley have also shown that marketing in a way for a younger audience, it's also brought in talent for them. It's brought in staff that they retain staff. They bring in really talented people, younger people, and they've built a more diverse team through, I think, showing a lot of their characters. But anyway, I'll start with you, Isla. What matters to Gen Z?
Hi. I think it comes down to experience now. Within a lot of different industries, like there's so many, there's a lot of competition and a lot of great products. So I guess like what separates you from another brewery is really like the experience you can give, I guess, online and in person. And I think there's been a shift in content where a lot of people are now, there's like this trend where it's a POV trend, and a lot of people are creating reels and content from their personal experiences. And I guess obviously we know that video is such like a big driving factor in content now compared to stills. And I think as well, like it's hard to hide faults or maybe a shitty experience in video. And when you capture, these different reels, you get to see like a true representation of of a brand coming from a customer's point of view. Obviously, it's a little bit different if it's the brand creating content. And I guess with Gen Z, like I think can see through a lot of brand bullshit, and we kind of just want to get to the point of what you care about and that sort of thing. And I think with experiences, it sort of sets brands apart, and that encourages people to sort of like come into breweries and your venues and online. There's many different ways customers can sort of experience a brand. And I think working with Range, we really care about, I guess, building this, like, the best drinking experiences possible. And what that, like, the form that comes in is so many different things. It can be, you know, a taproom event, it could be collabs, it could be merch. I think if your goal is to craft special experiences, the people will come and they'll see different sides of your brands and, I guess, like, what you care about it. And I think as well, you know, brands highlight or value different, like, more than one thing now. And with experiences, there's so many different elements that you can bring in to create a whole package. At Range, you know, we care a lot about, like, the smallest of details, from when we dim the lights to how dark a venue is to how loud the music is. We curate playlists all the time, and it's really like the collection of all those really, really small things that create this special experience, and then I guess like encourages, well, then I guess like as a consumer, you know, you want to document that and then share that in those POV reels and on stories and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I should have done this at the start, but I'd also like to acknowledge, I don't know if they're in the room or not, but Kira Lee and Sophie from Beer Matters, a lot of that article, like, used data from them, and there's Sophie. They're speaking in this room tomorrow. That's sure to be an unmissable speech. I think one of the things they talk about, you know, Gen Z being digital natives, growing up online. Like, I'm in my 30s and my parents were worried about people my age growing up online because it would, like, break our brains or whatever. But it's baby boomers who have kind of fallen ill on Facebook, I think, and fallen for fake news. So, you know, we've got to, like, take that into account, that this is a generation that is technically savvy, internet savvy, knows what's real and what's not on the internet, and I think that cuts through to brands as well. Jessie, with your graphic designer hat on, what do you think works in terms of design for Gen Z?
Well, so piggyback off of Isla, we're very much like a generation that needs quick and fast, where you have short memory spans and we want it now. We're like children in front of an iPad. We want to see, like, bright, colourful labels whenever you're promoting new products. You need something different. That's definitely a given. It's very obvious, but within keeping to your brand guidelines. So you obviously want to keep it within. So when Range do it very well, you'll see that gradient. You know it's Range, but also they have a little twist on it that it's different. You might even peel the sticker off and keep it and remember it. Whereas there's the other half of the Gen Zs who love that minimalism and the clean look and get to the point, what's the beer called? So there's a lot of balance, and you just need to find that niche. You need to see, am I going to project more towards like millennials who want to collect? I think I referenced the rock, like the star.
User reference.
Yeah, I like reference millennials like loving energy drinks and the rock star, like crazy bright fucking colours, and like which works so well.
Are we the energy equivalent?
Sorry, this is what I mean. It's like energy drinks for adults. But yeah, so you need to find that niche where you want it. Is it going to be clean? Are you going to get like interest, like, oh, who is that? Why do they only have white font on a black background? Or do you want the crazy artist explosion as well to keep that hype and limited release effect running?
I think as well, like, I'll be really interested to see, you know, in a couple of years how we sort of reference TikToks and I guess memes on social media. I think now, like, I guess if you want to bring in like nostalgia or clout or hype or whatever, like, it's, I think an easy road to do that is reference a movie or reference pop culture. But I wonder how we're going to do that with TikToks and sounds and phrases and that kind of thing.
Make sure you understand what the meme means and where it came from, because a lot of people fuck it up and accidentally post that, like, just very how you doing, fellow kids. Like, you can, and this generation sees through that in the instant. They're like, we know you don't know what you're talking about.
If a
like,
meme is past 1 month, it's dead. Don't even think about it. Don't talk about it. Just let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah, but it's a thought that counts, and it's still funny.
Moving on to social media, I mean, just in your personal lives, how are you guys engaging with social media? What are you checking out every day?
Facebook is dead to me.
Do you even have a Facebook?
Don't you?
I have a private one for social media and content curating. So again, it jumps back to Instagram and TikTok is your lifeblood for new and improved customers. They want to see videos. They want to see, I think it doesn't even matter who you are, what age. You want to see a video of something. You want to see someone having fun. You want to see people with your product doing something silly. And that is where you can jump into Reels on Instagram. You can jump into TikTok. Even though it's hard to get into, one video will blow you up. You just have to be on it with your sounds and what you're going to use. Facebook, on the other hand, unfortunately has a lot of the older generation that don't understand what's going on. And I have had issues posting some new age ideas and it just didn't work. So you just need to find that sweet spot with Facebook and Instagram. The generations.
Yeah. I think for me, like, yeah, I'm big on Instagram and TikTok too. I am a massive sucker for Facebook Marketplace, but that doesn't really help in advertising. I guess for the beer industry anyway. I think, yeah, it's really funny, even though, because I always forget to acknowledge and look after Facebook for range, and please don't notice that now, or maybe interact because I always forget. But I think there's still a lot of value in that. Being a part of Gen Z, I hate this whole idea that we're like singled out and we're like this big scary thing and oh my God, like, you know, they're so different to talk to and to market and connect with. We're actually not. We're like just really, I guess, cutting the bullshit that a lot of, I guess, other generations were maybe a bit too polite to do.
And much more aware of your workers' rights and things like that, and not putting up for longer hours that aren't getting paid, which I think is important to the industry too.
Yeah. But I think, yeah, like as much as it's really important to, you know, include Gen Z in your strategies, if you have a really strong brand message or a really important value that you really care about and that you're passionate about, then you will find naturally like ways to connect with Gen Z, because yeah, being honest and real comes in many different forms. It's not just showing a raw like TikTok or video. I think in your copywriting, your emails, just everything. I think the bottom line is being honest and raw and.
I think two breweries that really that come straight to mind with showing that team really well. Mountain Culture's obviously a big example with their video. Quite highly produced, but also Blackman's Brewery doing it in a really fun way. All the team for those same-day IPA releases and things like that. Either with your sort of online shopping experience and you know, taking that experience you have in the venue of connecting with customers in a nice way, how do you sort of take that to the online sphere and through your... If people aren't subscribed to Rangers newsletters, do, because they are fun. Like,
God,
I'm not even buying the beer, but they're fun, and she's writing them. So, before throwing to that, I'll steal another little bit of data from Beer Matters that they talked to me about how, yes, Gen Z are buying a lot online, as are millennials and Gen X, but they're doing it. Gen X millennials, we're doing it because it's convenient. Gen Z are doing it for that experience, that personalised experience. They want to connect with the band. If your website isn't easy to use, go fix that right now. You got to.
Yeah. I think it's been really interesting. I am only relatively new to the beer industry. I have a really strong customer service background and a few other retail experience in marketing. And it was really interesting to see that the brewing industry overall is quite behind in, I guess, like a lot of e-commerce norms that you find in a lot of, I guess, like in the fashion world. There are so many different online processes and journeys that are just stock standard that you'll find on every website in every brand. And so I think like a few of those is, I guess, obviously building out your newsletter database. So I know they're so annoying, and I would encourage you to test out your timings, but the pop-ups or where you place those call to actions to sign up to the mailing list, like that's just stock standard. As well as that, email flows. So these are, I guess, journeys that you're taking your customers on, whether they're an actual customer or just a lead that's landed on your website. There's a few different journeys that, again, really stock standard in a lot of industries that you can replicate, and they will either generate, leads, orders, or even just, I guess, like loyal followers to your brand, and eventually like will warm up to what you're about and your product, and then you can hook them in later. But yeah, there's so many different online experiences that you can create. I really encourage, if you haven't done so in a hot minute, become a customer of your own brand and go through that whole journey, create an order, reach out to your social platforms. You'll be surprised how much that there's a lot of touch points that you might miss, and you might lose a potential follower or customer or person.
Cool. We don't have that long left, so if anyone's got any questions, now Rich Adamson straight with the hand up.
I'm on? Yes. It was a quick mention of this nostalgia, and just my observation of the Gen Z in the inner west of Sydney is it seems to be very inspired by the 90s. And someone who lived through the 90s, it seems to be the shit part of the 90s. For a generation that wasn't alive during that time, give us a bit of insight of what's it all about? Why the 90s, and what part of it is the inspiration, I guess?
The aesthetic?
Yeah, I think it's the aesthetic. I mean, again, I'm sorry I keep referencing fashion, but I think they, I would say they're the leaders in a lot of like e-commerce and trends and whatnot. And it's that classic thing of like trends come back every 20 years or so. So I think it's just the time that we're in right now, that point in time is quite popular. I think as well, it's also because it's grungy and it was freeing, and like people didn't give a fuck back then. Coming out of COVID, where we were quite like restricted and had a lot of rules in place, I think maybe that's why people are connecting a lot with that point in time. Maybe.
Well, it also, like, I see a lot of videos that have the 90s music and the style, the aesthetic. It just looks cool because we don't see it anymore. You always want to grab something from a generation back to claim it as your own. So that's what a good example was. Burnley Brewing was releasing their seltzers to get ahead of the game, and they literally grabbed a 90s look, which was the checkered pattern that came back, and it sold so well that we've now kept that same labeling. So grabbing something from the past is always going to work well, whether it's labeling, videos, or any sort of social media and merchandising.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
There's one right at the back for you, James.
Start at the back and work forward. That's all right.
All right. Can you hear me all good?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. So I think I speak for my generation when we talk about the short attention spans of Gen Z. Like as a collective, you could probably recognize that as craft breweries, like we're not exactly your demographic that's sitting inside of a pub and having a pint. You know, we're always thinking about what we're going to do, what drinking games we're going to play, you know. And I just wanted to know, how do you structure your social media posts and your events to not only generate that attention, but to retain it as well?
I think being in your face so that it's so annoying you have to find out what it's about. Like always posting.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's something I'm constantly struggling with range. I think it's good with Range because every week we have new beers coming out, so there's always something new to talk about, and you know, every design is different, every name is different. They're usually quite funny. Well, I think so. If they're my own name ideas. I think, yeah, I'm not quite sure. I think it's just that it's just trial and error. Because again, we have a short attention span, so really no one's going to remember what you posted like last week or like what you posted on the story. So if you just keep
Being in front of their face.
yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it can be like the quickest thing, but as long as it's up there, I think that's important.
With so again, referencing Burnley Brewing, when we did start TikTok, we would then take the TikTok over to Instagram Reels, and if it would always get an insane amount of views and likes and comments, that's when you take the most interesting video or interesting post and post about what you want to talk about. So if you have a launch or if you have like an event, you post about that, and then people read it like, oh my God, I watched a funny video and I also got some information.
I think as well, like, I know clickbait is a bad word, but I think it's also,
So good.
it's so good. And
Yeah.
like, I think it doesn't matter how old you are, if you have those like clickbaity titles, like you're going to get drawn in. So I think it's just like the frequency in which you post, and then just try and get those like really cringy hooks, because you can't help but continue reading.
Yeah, thank you for that. Also, how do you structure your events to like generate that attention as well?
Structure like the marketing for it.
Well, the events, like, you know, obviously you guys would be, like, as marketing, are very involved in when you're holding events.
Yeah.
I just want to know how you would structure that to target a Gen Z demographic and to retain that attention for that night.
Yeah, for sure.
Last Nirvana.
What?
90s.
Oh, I was like, huh? Who? Oh my God, wow. I think, again, it comes down to the experience. So if you like create a really good ambience, whether it's a DJ or like, I'm not sure exactly specifics, but I think like for me, when I want to go to a venue, like I want to show it off on Instagram stories and sharing that content. So I think like if there's a space or I guess like it could just be branding. It could be the same event that you're doing monthly, but just branding it differently every time. Like it doesn't have to be too much to make it seem exciting. People just like to say that they've gone to XYZ rather than it being different from what they've done every other week. I'm sorry I can't quite answer that, but I'm happy to chat afterwards.
And if you're recording the event, don't stand in front of the camera like I've just been doing for the last 5 minutes. Any other questions over here? Yeah. Oh,
Are
Evan?
we okay for time, first of all?
To
Okay.
Just a quick one. Obviously, this is positioned to the next generation. When you're creating content, how do you risk mitigate not off-putting other generations? Obviously, you're platform choosing, but you know, there's a comment made before about things not working on Facebook for Burnley. Are you worried that you're going too far one direction to upset the other direction, or?
So I don't care. With the brand, if you have a brand and you want to stick to that style, so for example, Burley Barrels, they are super surfy, very fun, very outgoing. They love Gen Z, they love all the generations. They want to host DJs, drag queen bingos. I posted drag queen bingo on Facebook. The amount of hate that I got for posting about drag queens was just insulting. But you don't let that stop you from posting whatever you want on Facebook, Instagram, like anywhere. So you just got to push through, even though Facebook won't get the amount of followers or stories that you want. You just try and trial and error what works.
I guess it's sort of less on the political side of things, but more on generating content, because there's obviously a move now with limited releases coming out to be somewhat bombastic and doing fun things, and I guess sort of having fun, and that's that TikTok culture.
Yeah.
Does that then create a bit of a risk that if you're predominantly using that as your marketing or your position, that let's say 40-year-old plus are just not going to get interested in the brand because it doesn't speak to them at all? Like, are you trying to have both pieces, or are you pretty much saying this is our brand and we're only concerned with this market and this generation?
Well,
Got
I've-
about 10 seconds to answer that as well.
Okay, so with Facebook, what I think works and it's proven to work, Facebook stories, great for Gen Z. Posting videos and photos on your feed, great for boomers.
Thanks, everyone. We're out of time. There were a couple more questions. We can probably hang around outside or something like that if anyone wants to go over them. And yeah, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Great, awesome start. Thank you.